got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
I hail from Lagos State, from Isaleko. My father hailed from the Olumegbo family. I attended my primary, secondary education in Ibadan at the time because my mother was there. But my religious practicing was always done during the holidays at Holy Cross Cathedral. I was working in the sacristy. We used to prepare for the Mass on Saturdays, and we sell the news magazine on Sundays in front of the church. And I remembered fondly that we used to tease the man called Sunday Boku Boku at that time, and he used to run to chase us and throw stones at, how dare you call me Sunday Boku Boku. Those were fun times. Harvest, Corpus Christi. And I was born, raised, baptized, confirmed, married in the Catholic Church. But I got married to Engineer Larry Phillips, who is an Anglican. And I believe that in togetherness of family, it's best we all do things together. So I moved over with him against the doctrine of Catholic Church to the Anglican Church at Marina, where his family belongs and worships. I attended St. Luke's Demonstration School. We used to climb the mango trees, and there was a mixed school. We used to play at during break time. And in my secondary school was a Catholic school. And it's for you to be prim and prudish in life and, set you on as a lady. And I got some finesse from there too. And but the most interesting one and the most that I can call a radical one was my HSC in Olivet. I mean, we tried all sorts there. But it was fun and highly educative too. Sportsmanship was there. And from there, I proceeded abroad for my accountancy. And I was lucky to finish in a record time. And I came back. Did my articleship, but married in between. I met my husband abroad and we came back home, got married in Nigeria. I worked as an accountant with USC, very proud of the drill professionally that I got from USC. It had set me on a discipline for working. And I thank God that I had that opportunity, which still helps me today. Apart from the fact that my educational background sets me to be a diversified person in so many professions. And as an accountant, accountancy is the best of all, is the creme de la creme. And I've been able to fulfill my professional exposure in every species of responsibilities that I had opportunity to take upon me. And from USC, I proceeded to work for the bank. I went to politics. I became a commissioner in Lagos State, served with the present president of Nigeria. And you know how Lagos is. Lagos is like a country to other states. We went through governance. My team, as you can see, I have some of my colleagues in Abuja now. I have Honorable Minister Wali Edun. I have Honorable Minister Dele Alake. I have Honorable Minister Yemi Cardozo, and so forth. And I served in the bank as a director in Keystone. I've been a chairman of so many committees. You can say that again. In different aspects of life. Professional, political, social. And currently, I'm now the chairman of Souq Insurance PLC. When I was growing up, it was so free and enjoyable. We can take off at 11, 12, escort your friends to Bangboshe here. We go and have the Mosa. We go to the stadium. I remember me in my teenage age, I used to go to Nikon Stadium here. We watch so many matches, and I used to be with those fans, dancing and waving our fans, and bazaars, Easter Mondays, Fela Sports, you name it. It was fun. But Lagos was good for all of us. It was cleaner. It was amazing. Security isn't much to fear, you know. You can just live the way you want. And money and values of life are completely different to what they are today. I was with my grandparents and we had so many tenants and we didn't realize they were tenants. We were all playing together, eating together, and we are still like one family today. But the story is not the same again. I wish one can turn around and change it, but we have all given our kids sheltered life for the fear of unknown. And I think the disadvantage is very grievous. I think first and foremost, God gave me the chance, the opportunities to pass through that in the journey of life. It's not only money that can make you successful in life. I want you to get that. It's an added support for you if in life you have the opportunities of parents who can financially support you. But at the same time, there are kids who didn't have any financial support and have been successful. So to me, success is about self-determination. I grew up around uncles and aunties who are thoroughly educated, and I've always had it behind my ambition that I must be in that cadre. And thank God the opportunity was there for me and I seized it. And I remember myself telling my kids, when I was abroad, I never lived like my father was a rich man. No. I was behind the desk reading and reading till I got successful. And I passed in record time. First and foremost, I think I'm a people's person. Secondly, my educational background. Thirdly, my pedigree. And you can't be a Lagos person and don't have a bit of intelligence about how you can maneuver yourself, even in the midst of challenges. And I can tell you that boardroom politics, especially when you're a woman, is tough. But when you manage those that you sit around with, eventually, when they see that you're there to work, it has no business and basis for any other thing. I've had issues on boards because I'm female, and I put my foot down. It is the work we are doing. There is no gender sensitivity in this issue. Even in my early days as an accountant, when I head the accounting department, it was even tough at that level because the young accounting class, some of them can be daring to say, how can you talk to me like that? How can you make it? And I'll say, please, what do you mean? We need to get this target work done. So it's the work that is talking. That's nothing to do with whether I'm a man or a woman. So I will like the idea of gender reasonableness to be better played. At least for now, we are not having that 3 1/3, no. But I guess we are in the region of 20%. And it should be better. You give a woman a chance, she will devote her life to it. But, I mean, when we have 1 or 2 issues from women who have been there, that should not create hurdle or boundary that you say a woman shouldn't cross. No. Nobody's perfect in life. And I want to let you know, it's tough for a woman. These men, when it is a woman having a corrective measure to be taken, they do not handle it the way they do for the men. They're in a rush to pack the woman out. You see from what has happened all over the world. So I will still make an appeal that women should be given better chances, better allowances. It's so quick to make a woman a scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb. Let's take it easy. And please, women, when they put you there, make us proud. I should remember the other women coming after me. If I make this trouble now, they turn around and say, this is why we don't give them the chance to get to the top. So you manage the situation, you know? And let us remember that Africa is still very chauvinistic. It's still a man's world here. We are only trying. So just give us, for now, our required 33.1% as per Beijing recommendation. Having been in politics, there are so many factors that bring you up there. Some sensible, which I would call sensibilities. Some sensitive based, which I would call sensitivity. And some as per geographical distribution. If it's not the turn of your section, your district, there's no way they can put you there. But then sometimes it's the turn of your district, the party supremacy decrees that they don't want to use you. What do? You have to show some resilience as a stable character and do whatever you are given very well. Excel. Somehow, one day, you'll be there. Like Martin Luther King. At the end of that tunnel, I can see the light. Someday, somehow, you get there. I was in tourism shortly, and it's not enough time to propagate the excellence of your work. But in special duties, I give the ministry class. I was able to represent my Lagos State very well. NYC was under me. Proudly, I served. And we ensure that all students that need to go to orientation camp are well registered and got their NYC certificates. It's not about where they put you. It's about what you are able to do in that place. And you do it even to the enviable eye of somebody who believes has the best ministry with a lot of funding and allocation. I'm different in that respect. A hard-working man, a man with a lot of sagacity, a man that is very kind, he has human kindness in his heart, a man that is highly focused. My office was very close to the Roundhouse, and I tell you, I wasn't surprised. And I kept telling everybody, I wasn't surprised he got a clinch that position, because I knew that even when in 99, from the day we stepped in, he's been working towards his election in 2003. So a man like that who is focused, his business is the end of the tunnel. all the distractions you are given, it's not, he doesn't consider it. So don't waste your emotions. When you provoke yourself unnecessarily, and the person you are provoking yourself upon is not even responding on that line, you're wasting your time. But he's an astute politician. He knows what to do at every point. And don't try him, because he's a hard knock. And he's easy to forgive. That bit, I don't know how he does it, but it's easy to forgive and move on. He understands politics, maybe from a young age, I don't know, but he seems to have the knack of it at all times. I think that's in the pipeline. I don't have to come here to say that. And even in the insurance company industry that I am now, I'm propagating that, look, you need to take it easy. Is it at these hard times you want to recapitalize the industry and make life harder? Yes, recapitalize, but not with large gap. The variance should not be too much, because you need to recapitalize so that companies will be solidly based to address financial issues and risk issues that we have in the country today. I studied religion for my A-levels in school. I did divinity. It's not just reading Bible. The interpretation, the history, the analogy, all of that I did. And it has helped to shape me for life. It has molded my conscience to a large extent. What I see in religion today, if I go back to the way I have studied religion, I will say I'm worried. The way we have churches established in this country now, I'm talking of my experience in Lagos State. On the street, you can find 6, 8 churches, but there is no school. Education is key. Religion molds the character, the moral values about life. I'm not saying they're all totally condemned, but I think there should be more conferences and seminars to appeal to their conscience. It's one God. And in Lagos, the families, both Christian and Muslims, and the third religion, which is the native religion, we all interact and live together. And usually you find out that all of them talking about this God. I am a Christian. I talk about my God. And I don't denounce anyone in any other religion that faithfully talk about their God. And I don't allow that to affect a lot of decisions that I have to make, and didn't affect a lot of decisions that I had made. The expectation is too high. We are still a developing country. The awareness of covering up your risk is not too much there. In terms of life insurance, in terms of property, people are not still there. People don't cover themselves well enough. They take unnecessary risk. I'm glad Lagos State Governor is saying everybody must have a health insurance now. That, again, will expand the scope of the insurance business. In insurance, there are so many seminars, there are so many conferences that are being put up there now, where the ability to educate the masses, and even the high-ups one, to please ensure yourself. And when I say yourself, your life, your property, your children, and see how far it goes. It is important. And you know, in this era of insecurity, it is highly important. Just make sure you insure yourself. And with what the governor had proposed now, definitely Governor Sanwo-Olu did well. Health insurance is key. Health is wealth. First and foremost, inflation all over the world has gone haywire. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Those who live in the Western world, they're crying hula baloo about the price of petrol, the price of even eggs. So it's not just Nigeria. Let us wake up and see that we're in a global world and everything is intertwined. The issue of the central bank now trying to manage inflation, these are not easy times all over the world. They're not easy times. And when I say we are a developing country, we are still trying very hard. I don't want to say it's sad. It depends on the environment. You know, you can't just bring UAE here into Nigeria. The environment here from inception has not delved too much on tourism. Your tourism is just go on holiday and go back. The beaches are there. And even from 1999, they are trying to redevelop along the beach so that tourist activities can happen. And I'm sure they're still on it. You need tourist attraction where you have every aspect of life when tourists come over. But with the problem of infrastructure that we have in the country, you can't do much tourism for now. It wasn't easy, but as I said, once you try to be a bit methodological about it, then you get by. Because from the days I came back from England, starting a family, working in large corporations, it just ensure that the home front solidly settled. And it wasn't that easy, because you know that I'm talking of almost 40 years back. To be able to excel amidst men, you probably have to do 2 times, 3 times more than them. I'm lucky I have a husband who accepts me being what I am. Because if you have a partner that does not appreciate your ambition and your dream, he will not support you. But I have the support of my husband, and we are able to keep the home together. Make sure that his food is given. Make sure the kids are well looked after. Make sure the husband is well looked after at all times, and don't grudge. I try to give myself to people in terms of needs. I try to recognize people's needs, and at the moment of that need, I try to help. And it's a legacy I try to sound to my kids at all times, recognize needs at that point and do it. Because at the point that you recognize it, if you don't offer the assistance, it may not be meaningful again. But if at the time that a need arises and you can do it, promptly do it. And I cannot manage people who are not sincere. I cannot. And that is the only thing that bothers me about life. And once I find out that they are not one way, I make my U-turn and I don't go back again. And that's one thing I have learned, I have seen, and I'm trying to learn from Mr. President Bola Tinubu. The way he can switch from being so hot and then swim as if nothing happened and carry on. That is tough for me. And I hope I'll be able to, within the space remaining, I'll be able to copy that. At the same time, I like hardworking. I recognize people who are hardworking, who are intelligent, and I recognize people who are hardworking and need to be helped in terms of training to be a better person. And I like fun.
Hello and welcome to Souqnews Television. We are reaching you live from our studios in the commercial city of Lagos. I'm Oyinpriye Krumale. Let's begin from the home front, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the tax reform bills into law, introducing significant changes to Nigeria's tax structure. The Federal Inland Revenue Service is now renamed the Nigerian Revenue Service and will take over revenue collection duties from the Nigerian Customs Service, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Nigerian Ports Authority, and the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. The law exempts individuals earning 800,000 naira or less annually from paying personal income tax and removes income tax obligations for small business owners entirely. Individuals earning above 50 million naira annually will now pay 25% personal income tax. Starting from the year 2026, the company income tax for medium and large businesses will be reduced from 30% to 25%. Essential items such as food, electricity, medical services, school fees, and pharmaceuticals will remain exempted from value-added tax. The value-added tax rate stays at 7.5% with no increase. A new development levy ranging from 2 to 4% will be introduced to fund national institutions such as the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, the National Information Technology Development Agency, and the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI. Nigeria exported 82% of its crude oil in the first quarter of 2025, leaving only 18% for local refineries. Despite ongoing crisis of crude shortages, the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Authority Commission confirmed that out of an average daily crude lifting of 1,520,000 barrels, 1,290,000 barrels were sold internationally, while just 280,000 barrels were allocated to domestic refining. Major refineries, including Dangote's 650,000 barrels per day facility and modular plants, have struggled to secure enough local crude. Dangote disclosed reliance on the United States for imports, with over 3 million barrels already received in recent months. Industry stakeholders blame weak enforcement of domestic crude supply obligations and a market preference for dollar-paying foreign buyers, which has limited access to local refineries, undermining Nigeria's drive toward fuel sufficiency. Now, Nigeria's export to African countries dropped by 1.85 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025, reflecting 9.19% decline from 2.04 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2024, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. This marks the second consecutive quarterly drop after earnings fell from a peak of 2.49 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2024. Despite the decline, stakeholders believe that the growing non-oil trade will revive infrastructure and intra-African exports. The latest figures shows that the non-oil export rose to 3.17 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025, up 11.45% from the previous quarter, and now presents 15.38% of Nigeria's total exports. Industry leaders say that the fall in oil exports, down 6.01% in the first quarter of 2025 to 12.96 trillion naira, is tied to lower output and increased local consumption by active refineries. They credit the growth in non-oil exports to reforms such as exchange rate unification and export incentives. Experts from the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises stress that Nigeria must shift to a non-oil export-led economy to strengthen its currency and reduce external reliance. Regional trade experts at a recent summit in Abuja also emphasized implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area and the United African Payment System to fast-track trade across the continent. Nigeria, Egypt, and Morocco were the top recipients of the over 95 billion United States dollars sent to Africa in 2024 by its global diaspora. This was revealed in the State of Africa's Infrastructure Report 2025, released by the African Finance Corporation. The report noted that remittances matched the continent's total foreign direct investment for the year and have remained a more consistent and resilient source of finance than official aid or portfolio flows. The report also highlighted opportunities for African countries to convert these inflows into structured investments through diaspora bonds, while some nations like Ethiopia, Kenya, and Nigeria have experimented with such instruments. The report recommends stronger governance, reliable payments, and inflation index or foreign currency options to attract more diaspora-linked capital and unlock long-term economic growth. Now, following the Naira's depreciation and Nigeria's drop in Africa's banking rankings, the Central Bank of Nigeria has mandated commercial banks and Bureau de Change BDCs to significantly raise their capital base. The recapitalization plan requires banks to meet new thresholds by 2026, 500 billion naira for international banks, 200 billion for national banks, and 50 billion naira for regional banks. BDCs must raise 2 billion naira and 50 or 500 million naira respectively for Tier 1 and Tier 2 operations by December 2025. This move is aimed at rebuilding capital buffers, expanding credit access, and restoring investor confidence. Global ratings agency Fitch confirmed the ranks and the banks are responding swiftly, with several already raising capital ahead of the deadline. The CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso said the recapitalization will boost financial stability, support underserved sectors, and help release the government's $1 trillion economy, $1 trillion economy, backed by compliance reforms and tighter regulatory frameworks. The CBN believes a stronger, well-capitalized banking system will drive inclusive growth, inclusive loan access for micro, small, and medium enterprises, and position Nigeria banks to better withstand economic shocks. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News Television. Coming up shortly is Just Africa. Do join us again.
the 16th day of October, 63 years ago. I'm from Opobo, yeah, and went to school. I'm from River State, from Opobo in River State. Went to school in Port Harcourt, lived in Port Harcourt all my life, from primary to secondary school to A-levels. Then after A-levels, I got admission to Unilag. Immediately after Unilag, I got married, and I've lived in Lagos ever since. Well, it was fun for us because me and my husband were very young. My husband was 25, I was 21 and all that. But we learned on the job. We were friends. We were friends for 3 years when I was in Unilag, university, and we came out, we got married. So we're like children that just got married. But I had my parents. My parents were his very good friends. So when I get naughty, he would report me to my parents. When I didn't know these kind of duties were demands of somebody's wife, they would tell me this is my responsibility. I'm like, no. I will agree to some, I will not agree to some. But I mean, it was fun. We had our ups and downs, but we kind of pushed through it. And then the children started coming, and it was a different ballgame. You know, when you come from that kind of family, it's like part of your system. You don't really regard it as anything anymore. But sometimes I get the shock of my life because there was a time my in-laws came to Opobo for one ceremony, and I saw the king. And he gave me a hug and he gave me a pic, and they were like, whoa, the upper Benin won't even shake your hands, you know, as a woman. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's the same family, you understand? So we're used to that. I think we take it for granted. But maybe some other people say, you must call me a princess, you must call me that. I'm not into all those kind of things. I'm not at all, I've never been. So I can't start tomorrow. But yeah, great King Jaja of Opobo, my great-great-grandfather. And my children, when they studied it in school, they went to Corona school. When they studied, came, Mom, we're telling our teacher and our classmates that this King Jaja of Opobo, they told them about King Jaja of Opobo in school. And they said, that's my mommy's great-grandfather. Like, whoa, no, it was like a big deal to them, for us. Absolutely, upbringing and my personal choice too, because you could be brought up one way and choose to go another way. You understand? One of my philosophies in life is like this: you're not the tallest in the world, you're not the shortest, you're not the prettiest, you're not the ugliest, you're not the richest, you're not the poorest. Oh, of course, get with it. Do you understand? If you're looking for beauty, there are more beautiful women than you. So if you're looking for ugly, there are uglier women. If you're looking for tall, you're looking for it. So what is it? Do you understand? You didn't come into this world with anything. You're not going to go with anything. So just be grateful to God for whatever you have or whatever you are. Work towards improving on it, improving your relationship with God Almighty and improving your relationship with your fellow human beings. That's my philosophy in life. So what's the point of carrying all the air and chips on your shoulder? It makes life heavier for you. Seven is my favorite number. It's a number for perfection, and I was born on the 16th of October. My star sign is Libra. We're always looking for perfect balance in everything. It's just an influence from the horoscopes, I'm told. But J is my husband's name, D is my name, and 7 is my favorite number. Lazy way of forming the name of a company's net. So I did, and it stuck. And I knew I was going to go into couture, so that was it. Easy. I was a victim of circumstance. I keep saying it. I didn't really come into business to be a fashion designer, to go into fashion, and creativity has always been something that's innate. Okay, even before I started making clothes or doing this, I used to always give designers the styles that I want them to make for me. I didn't have tailors. But when I finished my NYSC at Nigerian Television Authority in Victoria Island, I decided I wasn't going to work there. I wanted to work in a more organized setup. You understand? Because of management traineeship, because I never worked all my life. My parents were very protective. I'm the last girl in the family. They were always very protective. So I said I wanted to work somewhere, and I prayed about it. And I got into Unilever. Then it was called Labor Brothers. And for 5 years, but the intensity of work there became a bit much for me because I was a young mother. I had 2 kids then. Was going on having the 3rd one, so it became a bit time. Sometimes Unilever was one of the biggest. When the international directors come in, we used to be the ones to host them with all the Unilever affiliates. Linters, the advertising agency used to be here, all the Nigerian breweries, USC, you understand, AJC, we're all Unilever group. Sometimes I won't get home until 3 a.m. when we are hosting, and with kids in the house, it can be a bit much. So I prayed about it and I decided something has to give. It's either your family, your children you will not give them the attention they need then, and they were growing fast, or your job will suffer, and then you will not be happy whichever way. So I decided, you know what, let my priority be my family. And I decided to go back. And I put in my resignation. That was not what I'm fine. When I did, my chairman refused to accept the resignation. So I had to use another way to encourage him to accept it. So I left Unilever. I said, okay, I wasn't the type of person that was suited for being a housewife. I wanted to do the kind of business I would do, but still have 100% time for the kids. So when the kids said they're having something in school, I'm there, okay? I decided I was going to just market corporate gifts. When I was in Unilever, I was the assistant corporate affairs manager in charge of press. So, and being in Unilever at the corporate affairs level, I already knew a lot of companies. So I used that opportunity to get back to those companies and introduce my new business. And in the first year, I actually made more money than my 5-year stint in Unilever. So that was enough encouragement. You make more money doing your own business. You have more time for your kids, for your family, and for yourself. And you travel quite a bit because you have to go and buy the corporate gifts. So it was a win-win. Then, a few years down the line, the president, Olusegun Obasanjo, came in and said they were doing backward integration and they were going to stop the importation of all this corporate gift and a lot of other things. So we were actually forced to look inwards. And when we started looking inwards, that's when it hit me that apart from Big, that was being produced by Eleganza, we're not really manufacturing anything in Nigeria apart from textiles and maybe I think Eleganza was doing food flask or something. And which corporate body do you want to give flask end of year gift? So what we had to do now, because a lot of my clientele were like Shell, Chevron, I started looking inwards. I said, okay, if I have to do something, I can do beddings, pillowcase trimmings, table covers, table placemat, napkins with fabrics like Ashok and Adira. I can do jute bags, It came to me. So I had to go and buy one machine and employed one tailor. So sometimes they will call me. I did some samples. So even in Abuja, when they were going to have, I remember the West African Women's Affairs, they had a conference. So they wanted jute bags, and we had about 1,000 or 2,000 jute bags, and that was quite nice. Plus, apart from the end of year activities, so that's it. But after those periods, you have periods of lull, like you're not using the machine and the tailor. You have to be paying tailor for doing it. I'm like, why am I going to these people to make my clothes? Tailor, oh yeah, this is the style I want. I started first by giving some of my clothes, repeat it. You did well. So I started designing. I could sketch very well. I was a science student in school, but I could sketch really well. So I was sketching will do well. And sometimes when I wear the clothes and I go to supermarket, some women will just call me, hey, I really like this thing you're wearing. Please, where did you make it? I'm like, okay, I'll give you the address. I give them the address. They started coming. Before I could say that, within 1 month, I had over 50 women I had to make clothes for. And the one tailor was no longer enough. I had to employ 2 others. That was how we started. From 2 to 4, then I had a whole factory before you could see that. I started making school uniforms, started doing all kinds of things. And then some of the magazines, like Genevieve magazine, looked at me and like, are you sure you make this outfit? I thought you were a broadcaster. I thought you sell. I said, yes, I did. So I did some photo shoot session for her. And I modeled the clothes, actually. And whoa, I started getting calls from Paris, from the UK. I did DC Fashion Week. You know, I was just, and they will pay your ticket, pay your hotel, please come and showcase for us. Some will even say, please come and open the show for us. Some say, we want you to close this. I'm like, okay. There are places that I would never have thought of going to, like Burkina Faso. They will back me the top fashion designers that would, when the Al-Fadi does this, they want every 4 years. Al-Fadi in Niger. The Niger government sponsors it. He calls all, including Elisab, every international designer, they will go, especially the Moroccan ones, those North African ones, Indians. So they invite one designer from each country. So they used to call me to come because of what I used to work a lot with Ankara and Ashok, and I do international acclaimed, how would I put it, couture outfits with Ankara, big hats, funny looking, structured clothes and all that. So that was how it went, you know. And I did all the magazines. I've won all the awards. So after a while, you know, I started thinking of concentrating on exports. In the process of doing that, my husband took ill. After 2 years, we lost him. So when I came back home, I gave a lot of things a lot of thought. My kids were still in school. My daughter got married. She was in Australia already. And then my kids, my 2 boys were still in school. So I said, look, this fashion design thing, it's not going to pay school fees in pounds sterling and dollars. So I said to myself, you know what? Why don't you give the man hours to the industry, the family business that were yielding the most income? That was how I started kind of just saying, you know what, let me just minimize it a bit. My core clients were still coming. So I kept the tailors, my experienced tailors that worked with for years, I kept them. I kept few of them. And I kind of cut down on that business. I said, you know what, let me just go and face the family business and do this for the people who really know what I'm doing. And word of mouth goes. So I'm still doing that, but my priority is really not that, you know. When you look at me the first time you see me, you see a fragile woman that don't like to sweat, that's spoiled, that like to be kept. I'm like, what? Absolutely not. My husband didn't want me to do anything. He just felt he wanted to spoil me. I said, that's not how to love me at all. Please. It's either you kind of understand the person I am. I'm a very creative mind. This mind has to keep working, or I'll make life miserable for you, you know. What I will advise, even women who are willing to work, you don't even do one job. You must get at least more than 2 streams of income. Otherwise, you will not make ends meet. That is the truth of today's world. You understand? There are those ones that want to be kept, no matter how wealthy your husband is. Wealth is not static. Some people start today. When they retire, everything goes downhill. Some people mean well. They love you. They want to take care of you. But nature calls. They part ways. Some marry other women, some leave, some die. You understand? So anything can happen. I would advise them, everybody, try to be as independent as you can, financially independent. I think you actually earn more respect when you do that. And then also, when things don't work out too well for the husband, no matter how rich you are, you don't have to put him through too much stress. You can take care of yourself, you take care of him, you encourage him, but let him not feel that the world has come to an end. You know, a man feels happy when he knows that his back is covered, even when he's not making it. You understand? It doesn't make him lazy, it makes him very grateful. Yeah. So I will advise everybody, get something doing. Do something that will enable you earn good income if you can. Do something that you also enjoy doing. I've always believed in garbage in, garbage out. Yeah? Garbage in is the stress abound. You cannot control that. But you can control your attitude towards stress. Stress is the #1 killer and ages of everything in this world. It's your attitude to stress that you have to manage, and that depends on you. What you put in your mouth also depends on you. Your mind, your heart, your spirit, your soul. You have to be loving. You have to be forgiving. You understand? All that depends on you. So it's actually you that decides whether you're going to age gracefully or you're not. Forget about the genes first. It's true. You understand? Some people are so malicious. When you offend them once, oh my goodness, they will carry it in their chest, and the chest will be expanding, and they won't sleep well, and they begin to have problems. Meanwhile, the person you're angry with does not even know you exist. It's crazy. So for me, it's just be free and take life easy. Take it as it comes, and always be grateful to God. I'm too honest and straightforward. It's either I will be killed immediately, or because I will tell you the truth, no matter whose house is God. I don't think I can play politics. I'm not a politician at all. I am a very straight shooter. I will tell you to your face when you're doing stupid things. That was my relationship with my mom, my dad, my husband. So most times, I'm the last girl in the house. So maybe when they were disciplining the first ones, by the time they got to my turn, they were a bit tired. So we could talk to my parents anyhow. But I don't do it to create whatever. I just feel that if anybody worth talking to, is worth talking to with honesty and integrity. And when you want to play politics, they will see something that is black. They will say it's yellow. I can't do that. For the love of me, I can't. So politics is not my call. And because of that, they will not allow your creativity to come out, your sincerity. What's the point? Yes. I'm actually planning some kind of, I met some of my old models that are doing very well. And you know, when you deal with a lot of these girls, some of them have traveled with me to Niger. Sometimes they'll tell you, bring 2 of your models. You know, some of them, we have very good relationship. We're going to do a reunion one of these days. It will be fun. And they are all calling, when are we going to do this? I say, don't worry, we'll get a reunion done. Because we need to revisit the fashion industry, see how things are going. They're doing well. The new ones are doing well. And I just pray that the environment will not discourage them, you know. It's not just Nigeria, it's the world. Whatever is happening in Nigeria is what the truth is. A crate of egg in Nigeria is still cheaper than a crate of egg in the US and in the UK, even with the exchange rate. So it's not just Nigeria, the world is experiencing some kind of. The way I see it is like the pangs of birth before the the child finally comes. You know, that intense labor. And then when the child is born, everything is calm and beautiful, everybody's happy. I think we are just towards the end of the labor pain. It's going to get better, but we're going to pass through a lot of that before it gets better. And when it finally gets better, we'll all be smiling. But right now, the whole world, not just Nigeria, is crazy. If you look at international, listen to international news, it's actually crazier than here. I just pray. Yes, I live opposite, I won't even say it, on the street. One of the big men that live on that street, his birthday was yesterday, and the whole street was filled with beggars, hungry people. It was really crazy. I felt so bad. We were pushing each other, killing each other, fighting just to get a plate of jollof rice. It was very sad. It didn't used to be that bad. There were a few people who would come hang around, but the whole street, I couldn't move anywhere yesterday because of it. But I hope it gets better soon, so that the best in all of us can come in. Because hunger and poverty can actually bring out the worst in people. Naturally, yes. I have an NGO that I do. What I do, I take girls, young girls that are not able to complete school because of poverty, and I educate them. You understand? I try to pay school fees, help people. I believe in education a lot. Yeah, because I don't believe in giving you the fish. I believe in teaching you how to fish. I have few of them from my place come stay with me. Some of them are able to stand the discipline. Some of them are not able. So the ones that are able to stay, they stay, and they do very well. Some of them, I train from a distance, and they do well. So I've had university graduates, I have levels, I have all kinds of things. That's what I do. And most people come to me naturally, not because I'm a trained mentor or anything. When you do anything out of love, and out of sincerity of purpose, and because they see you as genuine, they listen to you. You understand? When you mean well, you tell people the honest truth, and they, it's not easy sometimes, but yes, a kind of mentor.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Just Africa. We're reaching you live from our studios. Now, in recent years, Africa's creative economy has emerged not only as a cultural force, but as a billion-dollar industry that is reshaping global perception of the continent. From Nollywood in Nigeria to the fashion houses of South Africa, from Ghana's economic booming music exports to Kenya's growing digital art scenes and Senegal's global art footprints, Africa's creative industries are proving to the world that they are both economically viable and globally competitive. Welcome once again to Just Africa. I am Oyinpriye Krumale, and I'm not doing this by myself. Hello.
Good morning. Thank God it's Friday.
Yes, it's like green and white.
You already know the
Nigeria.
country I represent. Good morning and welcome to Just Africa. I am Olumide Shokoya. So we're talking about the creative and cultural industry.
Yes.
It's an industry that is actually booming in Africa. It's estimated to be about $4 to $5 billion, and it's also estimated to shoot up to $20 billion by 2026. Now, when we talk about the creative industry, we're talking about music, film, visual art, tourism, fashion. I mean, these all contribute a whole lot into the creative industry. And, you know, it's something that Africa is represented in a positive light. Because when people talk about Africa, you always hear about hunger, this, that. But when you talk about the creative industry in Africa, it is booming. One of the areas I like to talk about is music. Afrobeat has gone viral. It's everywhere. Afrobeat, high life, to South Africa's Amapiano. I mean, it is really booming. And it is something that, yes, we are actually proud of. And like I said earlier on, it could actually shoot up to $20 billion because it's contributing about 4% of Africa's total gross domestic product. And it will create over 20 million jobs. That's what it's projected to create.
Okay, so I like the projections you just gave and that brief analysis. However, if the Nigerian movie industry annually is making $7 billion,
Yes.
Because I think what I'm trying to get at is that there is the tendency
Yes.
And the prospect for us to exceed that $20 billion you talked about. We've
Yes.
not started talking about African and Nigerian festivals that we currently have. You know,
Yes.
a few weeks ago we talked about Ojude Oba,
Ojude Oba.
and we've not started, you know, put into consideration some of the African festivals that we have in northern part of the country, in the southeastern part of the country.
Yes.
Or we move to Kenya, and some of the cultural representatives we have there in South Africa, I equally know, have a very, very rich cultural heritage, and we could see them in their festivities. They showcase them. And one of the things that we have not really touched about is even the movie industry. Now, you know, Nigeria is belling the cat, and Nollywood seems to be the biggest, one of the biggest, or second largest in the world when it comes to movie production, if not maybe third or second. So the one thing we have not really put our eyes and our minds and our hearts to do is exporting the African identity. Exporting the African identity out of the continent of Africa. You know, there is always this documentary that is played, and it's talking about leather bags and the fashion, because they are crafted with their hands and the kind of billions of money that, in fact, it actually went down to talk about the rudiment and how that leather industry that is not made with machines or factories, but with the handcraft, how it started and became a child of necessity, and how now it has grown so much that we are now exporting those handcrafts. We need to not only sustain it, but to also promote it in the global market, because that is one of the only ways we can sustain our heritage and equally, by way of technology and movement, transportation, transport our culture out there to the world.
I think another sector that we've not really harnessed well is the tourism sector. We have so many historical tourist sites. I mean, we have Olumo Rock, we have Ikogosi with the hot and cold water.
That should be in Osun State.
Yes. We have so many of these. I mean, earlier on in one of our programs, we were talking about airports being used as tourism. These are historical sites that we really need to. And if you go to some of these, I mean, I don't know how well the National Museum in Nikon is well, but I'm sure, yes, it's still maintained to a certain level of standard. Even the slave camp in Badagry. I mean, those are tourism places where we need to really, really promote, where we need to, first of all, we need to find a way of maintaining it, making it, look good, so that when tourists come, we can actually generate a whole. Dubai is everybody's always running to Dubai. Why? Because they have taken it to a level of standard whereby people see it fascinating. They find it very fascinating to just go there and see, the Taj, the Taj Mahal and all that. So we need to also find a way of exporting, or better still, investing into tourism, so that, yes, we can actually make or generate a lot of income. And it also create jobs.
Exactly. The tourist industry that you just referred to, I don't think we have done much as a country. Because if you look at the Ministry of Tourism and Hospitality, I think it was yesterday we were speaking to one of the managers within that sector, and he actually reeled out most of the challenges that they face in when it comes to hospitality industry, the hotels, and how they need to be managed in order for them to, because if you mismanage those kind of facility, you are actually speaking on behalf of the country, because when tourists and visitors come into the country, these are the places they go to relax and to live. And if you cannot present an environment that is of global standard, then you have talked down your country. Remember, we had a conversation with Dr. Idawosa here, and he was talking about his experience in Dubai.
Yes.
And how a cab driver, was actually talking to them, and even the receptionist in the hotels were telling them, that we're trying to sell the country to them, that, hey, bring your friends, come to our country, come and have fun, come and live well. It is something that is going to be very, very, and it was like, okay, this is a cab driver, or this is a receptionist in an hotel. So probably the orientation they've been given is that this is a destination for foreigners, for tourists, and for visitors. And the more they come, that is our major earning power, like IGR for our country. So you must do everything within your power to make sure that when you come into contact with these people, you sell your country as a product to them, so they're going to buy it. But now that we're talking about this, the Ministry of Tourism, how much is our budget for this year? I don't think it's even up to 15 or 20 billion naira. And those are challenges that we are facing.
In as much as we are trying to market Lagos to the world, make it, the metropolitan state of the country and all that, one of the areas that I believe we've been exporting it, but we need to take it a step further, is our delicacies. I mean, if you go on Instagram, you see different videos of people trying out banga and starch, trying out eba and ewedu and all that, and it's impressive, it's inspiring when you see a Westerner trying eba and ewedu, and he's smiling and saying, he's giving reviews of how this is how it tastes, you should try it. It means that actually we are actually doing good outside.
Yes,
and we need to also try as much as possible to promote it. We need to also tell our children, instill it in our children, because sometimes, we get carried away when we emigrate to other countries and all that, and we want to,
I want to eat pepperoni fries.
And all that.
Pepperoni fries. What? Boli by the roadside. Roasted plantain.
With
fish and red oil. It's a good delicacy. And food is one of the parts that introduced any culture and any people to the world. It's going to be part of what we're talking about today. Today in Just Africa, we will dive deep into the vibrant and diverse and lucrative world of Africa's cultural and creative industries. industries that are increasingly driving GDP growth, employment, and the international influence and youth entrepreneurship across the continent. Now, with the support from technology and diaspora engagement and a new wave of global demand for African narrative, Africa is no longer on the sidelines of the global creative economy. In fact, it is at the center of it all. And on that note, we'll go on a break. When we come back into the studio, our conversation will be going a different dimension. You don't want to miss that. It is Just Africa, and we're reaching you live from our studios at Souq News Television. Stay with us.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Ojude Oba is the annual social cultural festival with the splendor and grandeur of the Ijebus on display at Ijebu-Ode, the capital city of Ijebuland. It is a nexus of cultural and sartorial elegance, social grace, and evocative dance steps that has attracted indigenous as well as local and foreign tourists over the years. It is a celebration of the enduring age-grade system called Regbe, platform of cultural identity and unity of the Ijebus, including those in the diaspora. From its origin in the 1880s as an Islamic faithful's salam message and visit to the Awujale of Ijebuland, the Ojude Oba Festival has transformed into an all-indigenous celebration filled with fun and laughter. I shall be looking at the economic and tourist attractions and potentials of this festival in view of its increasing global patronage and attention it is receiving right now. Credit for the transformative feats of social engineering concerning the Ojude Oba Festival must go to His Royal Majesty Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono Ogbagba II, since ascending the throne of his forefathers in 1960. It is a case of an iconic traditional ruler creating an iconic legacy. This year's edition of Ojude Oba Festival was estimated to have attracted over 2 million people and several more millions of a global audience. The social media was agog in transmitting the grandeur of the occasion. As is usual, Ijebu-Ode experienced vehicular and human traffic gridlock, especially in the city center, where the Palace of the Awujale and the Palace Annex hosting the event are located. It is a measure of the economic derivative of the celebration of Ojude Oba that all hotels in Ijebu-Ode and environs were fully booked from Saturday, June 15, 2024, through to June 28 to Wednesday 19th, the day after. Food and drinks vendors also made boom sales, catering for the teeming patrons at the celebration. At the venue of the celebration, opposite the palace, the Awujale was resplendent in the majesty of his royal regalia, supported by other traditional rulers in Ijebu land, with Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, also an Ijebu, adorned in a desired native dress of sunshine colors that stood him out as a sartorial connoisseur. But then, in all good things, there are few contrary people sold to skepticism and negativism. The 2024 Ojude Oba Festival attracted such people who erroneously and mischievously described it as a fashion jamboree of no consequence to the welfare of the hosts and the environment. These skeptics and critics wondered why the Regberegbes should not offer scholarships, build health centers, and construct roads and boreholes. Some people even dismissed the Regberegbes outing at Ojude Oba Festival as a wasteful fashion extravaganza. In their anger, they wondered what a hell is this Ojude Oba Festival? What an empty hype. The coordinator of the 2024 Ojude Oba Festival, Chief Fasi Yusuf, told journalists that the Regberegbe had not only been feeding the people and educated the youths, as it were, but have also been providing infrastructural facilities. He described the Regberegbes as interventionist development agents, citing such instances of their interventions to include the 20 million naira renovation of the male surgical ward at the State Hospital in Ijebu-Ode, renovation of Nigerian Police Area Command Ekpeba, Ijebu-Ode, and building of police posts in different parts of the city. The 108-page Ojude-Oba Festival 2024 brochure listed some of the other activities engaged by the various Regberegbes, as the resuscitation of the moribund School of Nursing and Midwifery Ijebu-Ode, scholarships to indigent students, construction of 4 blocks of classrooms at Omu Ajose Comprehensive High School, and 3 classroom blocks at
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's Just Africa, and we're reaching you live from our studios at Souqnews Television. Globalization. Some of the criticisms against globalization is that it steals our identity away. It steals culture away. And you have some of the Kamorus, the Emekas, the Chukwubukes, and will I say the Priyes, and the Uches, or some of the Adamus, like we know, and the Aromes, local names. By the time they leave Nigeria, probably to the UK, to Canada, to the United States of America, to Luxembourg, to Australia, you name it. And when they come back, their intonation has changed. Language. Take away language. Take away food. Take away some of these critical things from as a component, as culture from a specific people. It is good as saying they've lost their identity. Welcome once again on the program. We have in the studios with us to continue this conversation, Bayo Olaoye. Welcome to Just Africa.
I'm glad to be here.
Great,
Thank you very much.
Great. So, we're talking about culture. First of all, when you look at culture entirely, and you want to pinpoint some of the areas or sectors you felt we have lost it, and we need to make amends, or the part of the culture where it sells, Nigeria and abroad. What sector would you take a look at?
Thank you very much. If you want to talk about promoting culture in Nigeria, we have an infrastructural deficit.
Okay.
Let me come down. We don't have the institutions
Institutions.
or the structures to promote culture. Now, the National Theatre. Let me begin with the National Theatre. National Theatre was left derelict for so many years until the Bankers Committee came together and renovated it to world standard. And now we are looking forward to performances taking place there now. Then you have the National Troupe.
The National
Troupe, which had been abandoned for some time. And those of us in the media were talking about the National Troupe. Because the National Troupe goes abroad to propagate and promote Nigerian culture, dances, arts, culture, music. Now, that one is also coming up. Then,
so, Baba, I need you to dwell on the national troupe for a while. There are so many dances, whether in Yoruba culture, in the Hausa culture, in the Igbo culture, in Ijo or Urobo, or from the Benue tribes or the Tiv people that seem to be going into extinction. During your days, when you probably were my age, some of those dance steps or those name of dances that used to, operate, that was the dance of the day, and that, showcases Nigeria and African culture abroad. Which of those can you remember?
The last time I was here, I was referring to the Meboi dance.
Meboi dance.
On Lagos Island.
Lagos Island.
That 95% of our youth cannot even perform Meboi dance. There are also other dance steps when you do the kareta on Lagos Island. Okay, let me be more specific now. Simple dance step like Akpala.
Akpala.
How many of our youth can dance Akpala? I'm not talking about Fuji, because Fuji is something else. But traditional Akpala, how many people can dance to Haruna Shola? How many people can dance to Ayla Omowura? How many people can dance to Yusuf? Those were in the days when that is the essence of. But we are losing it. Now, if you talk about dance steps, you cannot run away from our dialects. Yoruba, Igbo. At the time, I told you the Igbos were shouting that from the rooftop that their culture was going to extinction. The Yorubas also were complaining. The Hausas are complaining. And this thing starts from the home. Sometimes ago, my grandmother was very annoyed with me that I was speaking English to my grandchildren and cautioned me about the implications of, and I agreed with her at the time. But I said that you have to communicate with these children, first of all. She said, okay, the communication is enough in the school. Why don't you, at home, teach them how to, ekaro, ekason, ekale, things like that. So I think the neglect is from the home, really. Starts from the home.
Okay. So,
starts from the home.
All right, so Baba, I'd like us to look at the economic impact of the creative industry. Earlier on, I said it's projected at 4 billion, which could shoot up to 20 billion by 2026. So, but my question now is, if you look at the creative industry as a whole, are we actually seeing this economic impact at the grassroots level, or is it just concentrated in major cities like Lagos, Johannesburg, and Nairobi?
I think is developing from the grassroots. Because if you go to Ajegunle now, at least I know at least about 10 DJs in Ajegunle. DJs, I'm not talking about musical troops, skits, performance, and that kind of thing. The awareness is growing. The social media is assisting. And parents, sadly, are now realizing that you don't have to ape and imitate Western culture. The realities are there. And in schools too. That is why some of us were advocating for the teaching of history in our schools. Okay. Because when you talk about the history of a people, you are talking about the culture, the tradition, the evolution of the culture itself. Okay. So I think it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine.
Okay. So now, Mr. Bayo Olaoye, there's something that is very, very obvious that most people can relate with, even while they were children and when they become adults. And that is, we're talking about masquerades and its relevance to culture and tradition. What was your experience like, and what was the relevance of that?
Yes, I'm very passionate about that because you're talking about masquerades.
Yes.
In Lagos, I belong to the Adim Eyo. That's the highest Eyo.
Okay.
But sadly, the Archbishop, that's Cardinal Okoje, who's my cousin, called me one day into the monastery and told me, you better stop this. So I stopped. But then later on, he came to realize that regarding Eyo as an abnormality or an abomination when you go to church, it's not realistic. And the Yorubas have a saying that when you respect God, you also respect your culture.
Okay.
So, yes, we were.
So
the masquerades are important because they depict the historical evolution of any society. We must respect them. Although it's been bastardized, usually when you have human beings, some people abuse or misuse privileges. A masquerade is a replica of the gods that we worship.
Okay.
And they should be respected.
Okay. African traditional gods. Yes.
All right, so now let's look at festivals and carnivals. I like to, yes, there might be a wide gap, but if you look at the Notting Hill Carnival and you look at some, like in Lagos here, or in Abeokuta, in Ogun State rather, Ojude Oba Festival. Ojude Oba is actually growing. It's attracting international presence. How can we take it further so that, yes, we can, just like the Nottingham Carnival, where people from different countries, different continents travel down to United Kingdom just to witness this amazing kind of people can also start coming down to Nigeria?
Fortunately, most of our traditional rulers now are more or less elitists. Okay. They are educated, enlightened, exposed, and they have realized that Ojude Oba has set a precedent that we must follow. I am from a chieftaincy family, and next Friday I'll be meeting Iku Babaye, the Alaafin of Oyo, who is my brother, for the first time. And you see, our traditional rulers now realize that you have to promote this culture. And I can tell you that other towns, other cities are now taking a cue from that. Indeed, in Oyo, when I meet the Kabiyesi next Friday, we'll be looking at our own peculiar festival that will bring people from Oyo to the town, celebrate. Not just a one-day affair, but a week-long, where you talk about all dimensions of culture. Food, greetings, dancing, sculpture, arts and painting, and so on and so forth. Okay. So I think it's catching up. Okay. And by the time we all realize it, that's another source of GDP for us.
All right, so I'm also looking at the business angle of these festivals, because something like Ojude Oba, it's going to open businesses for fashion designers. I mean, the showcase, it's going to bring a lot of people. Hotels are going to make a lot of money from tourists that come in. Even food vendors have the ability or the opportunity to sell different delicacies. How do you think the government in this time can step in and make sure that all this, comes back to the country? All the money comes back to that state.
My colleague and my sister, Bike Dabiri Erewa, told me last week that the people in diaspora, for the next 3 or 4 years, are planning to storm Ojude Oba in different dimensions. Food, dance steps, history, singing, drumming, all dimensions, so that it will be bigger and better. And the awareness is growing. So I see the cultural sector growing up and contributing significantly to the GDP, conveniently.
Okay. So, Mr. Bawelari, there's this specific question, because whilst you were addressing the issue that had to do with masquerades, and you said it's an historical expression of the gods and African religion or African way of worship. But currently, as we speak, there seems to be a difference, because the religious institution like Christianity and Islam has a way to separate African traditional worship, because they felt is diabolical. So of what part of African tradition expression is not diabolical, that should be embraced by the religious organizations and the state?
So let me come back to the Yorubas. Okay. There's something in Yoruba called Oriki. Oriki.
Yes.
If I'm Akoni, there's an Oriki for Akoni.
Okay, so we need to tell the people what Oriki means.
Oriki is there's an appellation of the meaning and the significance of that name. Akoni means somebody in the forefront. Okay. I'm the firstborn of my dad. Okay. So I am Akoni. Okay. That is natural. Okay. There's Akonbi, there's Akonwu, there's Akonji, there's Adio. All these things have significance. But probably, how many parents know the Oriki of their children? Okay. When I was married, my dad wanted me, buy your man of fair moti on Oriki. Do not marry a woman that does not have Oriki. Because when you say, Kiloruko, what's your wife's name? He says, Aduke. Ah, Aduke. There's an Oriki for Aduke. Just to motivate and appreciate that lady. Okay. There's an Oriki for Anike, Ashake, But these things are not. I think this is part of what National Orientation Agency should be doing.
Okay.
You go back to our people are people of my own set, my generation, the generation before me, they are passing away, and this thing is slipping through our fingers.
Okay, so I need you to address that. The part of tradition that is not diabolical, that you feel religious bodies like Christianity and Islam should embrace, and also that is significant for promoting national coherence and national unity.
The Eyo festival, to some religious leaders that I know that are very close to me, it's an abomination. And I said no. Believe that, why should you, taking Holy Communion at the Holy Cross Cathedral, you are going to do Eyo? But I told them that, first of all, my dad was an Adimu, and by natural instinct...
What is an Adimu?
Adimu, that's the highest Eyo.
Okay.
That's the highest. We wear black and white, whatever. That is the highest. Okay. So, and during the Eyo, we pray to Olodumare. We pray...
Olodumare is?
That is God.
God, okay.
We pray to God for peace, progress, stability, growth, to be healthy. So that is what everybody looks for. And that's what everybody wants.
Okay. So what about other parts of tradition? Same thing that you feel will contribute to national unity and that is devoid of diabolical means?
Another thing is that in Nigeria, among all the tribes, greetings is very important.
Okay.
A Yoruba man can greet you 10 times. Where you are going, Udabo. When you come back, Ekabo. When he's passing through, he will say Eku Kale.
Okay.
So there's a greeting for everything, and that embellishes, that promotes community, a sense of communal being, a sense of belonging. You make everybody feels good. Those are issues in culture that we must promote. Okay. Also greeting. You cannot, for instance, my grandson cannot shake hands with me.
Okay.
It's not possible.
Okay,
and
so
he must be able to greet properly.
Okay, so if your grandson cannot shake hands with you, so that is, if he does that, or if he extends his hand to shake your hand, it's disrespect.
Yes, then you
so,
correct him.
So what should he do normally if he wants to greet his grandfather?
Of course, he has to prostrate.
Prostrate in this 21st century.
If it's a lady, you have to kneel down, for goodness sake.
Okay.
Regardless of whatever.
But do we put into consideration what...
That's why we're Nigerians.
Okay, yes.
You can't say, hi. What is hi? No. Olumide Karo. Let me say, Baba, Karo. Shusundada. Ilenko, how's the whole? Or if you had done me a favor yesterday, I say, Oshiano. Those are greetings that are profound. And you can't replace them.
Okay.
So I would like to ask, in going forward now, how can we preserve this culture? You know, earlier on, Kumale said that globalization could also hinder the perseverance of culture. So in going forward now, how can we make sure that culture and globalization do not clash? Because whether we like it or not, we are all coming together. We are exchanging. Globalization is also an exchange of cultures. I get to know your culture, you get to know my culture. But in doing so, I should not also forget my culture. In embracing your own culture, I should not neglect my own culture.
That is what our traditional rulers will be doing now. Instead of meddling in political issues and things that don't affect them. The Ooni of Ife, His Highness Ogunwusi, is doing something that is worthwhile. I think the Obi of Onitsha, the Sultan of Souq, these are leaders that are stepping forward to promote culture. Then the institutions can follow. The Institute of African Studies of most universities, what are they doing? They should be listening. They should do research into how our great-grandfathers were living, some of the ethics, some of the ideals that they stood for. And then parents should support them. And we'll get there. I did not mention government because I thought government has so many things to do. And government doesn't know about culture. But if the traditional rulers go to government, they will listen to traditional rulers. So government cannot, Ministry of Culture and whatever, it doesn't. You have about 10, a permanent secretary. No, it doesn't work that way. Let's use our local people, our institutions. Let's use the banks. The banks are, the Bank of Industry now is really interested in culture.
Okay.
Let the banks be involved. And we can promote our culture and earn a lot of money.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bayo Olaoye. Now, on that note, we'll go on a break. When we come back from this break, our conversation will be going to another dimension. Food. It's very, very important. And as Africans, food serves as a very core of the culture. If you go to the West, the Yoruba people, the kind of food, you go to the North, you go to the Southeast, and there are different types of names of this food. And because of the way Nigeria is, we are blended together. An Igbo man could be eating what he finds in the Yoruba culture as if he was born and bred with it. These are significance that brings and unify a people together. And if Nigeria, if we look at it ethnically, we have more than 250 ethnic tribes in the country, quite culturally diverse, then things that brings us together must be those peculiar cultural dispositions that we must bring together to live as one. When we're back, we'll have this conversation. It's Just Africa. Stay with us.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Ojude Oba is the annual social cultural festival with the splendor and grandeur of the Ijebus on display at Ijebu-Ode, the capital city of Ijebuland. It is a nexus of cultural and sartorial elegance, social grace, and evocative dance steps that has attracted indigenous as well as local and foreign tourists over the years. It is a celebration of the enduring age-group system called Regbe Regbe, platform of cultural identity and unity of the Ijebus, including those in the diaspora. From its origin in the 1880s as an Islamic faithful salam message and visit to the Awujale of Ijebuland, the Ojude Oba Festival has transformed into an all-indigenous celebration filled with fun and laughter. I shall be looking at the economic and tourist attractions and potentials of this festival in view of its increasing global patronage and attention it is receiving right now. Credit for the transformative feats of social engineering concerning the Ojude Oba Festival must go to His Royal Majesty Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono Ogbagba II, since ascending the throne of his forefathers in 1960. It is a case of an iconic traditional ruler creating an iconic legacy. This year's edition of Ojude Oba Festival was estimated to have attracted over 2 million people and several more millions of a global audience. The social media was agog in transmitting the grandeur of the occasion. As is usual, Ijebu-Ode experienced vehicular and human traffic gridlock, especially in the city center, where the Palace of the Awujale and the Palace Annex hosting the event are located. It is a measure of the economic derivative of the celebration of Ojude Oba that all hotels in Ijebu-Ode and environs were fully booked from Saturday, June 15, 2024 through to June 28th to Wednesday 19th, the day after. Food and drinks vendors also made boom sales, catering for the teeming patrons at the celebration. At the venue of the celebration, opposite the palace, the Awujale was resplendent in the majesty of his royal regalia, supported by other traditional rulers in Ijebu land, with Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State, also an Ijebu, adorned in a desired native dress of sunshine colors that stood him out as a sartorial connoisseur. But then, in all good things, there are few contrary people sold to skepticism and negativism. The 2024 Ojude Oba Festival attracted such people who erroneously and mischievously described it as a fashion jamboree of no consequence to the welfare of the hosts and the environment. These skeptics and critics wondered why the Regberegbes should not offer scholarships, build health centers, and construct roads and boreholes. Some people even dismissed the Regberegbes acting at Ojude Oba Festival as a wasteful fashion extravaganza. In their anger, they wondered, what a hell is this Ojude Oba Festival? What an empty hype. The coordinator of the 2024 Ojude Oba Festival, Chief Fasi Yusuf, told journalists that the Regberegbe had not only been feeding the people and educated the youths, as it were, but have also been providing infrastructural facilities. He described the Regberegbes as interventionist development agents, citing such instances of their interventions to include the 20 million naira renovation of the male surgical ward at the State Hospital in Ijebu-Ode, renovation of Nigerian Police Area Command Ekpeba, Ijebu-Ode, and building of police posts in different parts of the city. The 108-page Ojude Oba Festival 2024 brochure listed some of the other activities engaged by the various Regberegbes, as the resuscitation of the moribund School of Nursing and Midwifery Ijebu-Ode, scholarships to indigent students, construction of 4 blocks of classrooms at Omu Ajose Comprehensive High School, and 3 classroom blocks at Imososi Primary School, Agoiwoye. Other activities include the rehabilitation of roads, provision of boreholes and solar street lights, support to orphanages, homes, and homes for special needs, and free medical services for indigents. Chief Fasi Yusuf, who is the backbeam of Ijebu-Ode and secretary to the Awujale Council of Chiefs, stressed that it had become imperative to enlighten skeptics about the extensive ramifications of the Regberegbes as a unique, populist, social, cultural, economic platform where services were provided for the community and also for members. He pointed out that the Regberegbes had become unifying and uplifting platforms with the enhancement of the well-being of members, financial and health-wise, considered collective responsibilities of the age group, where investment loans, payment of hospital bills of sick members, and donation to families of deceased members are made. Talking personally and professionally after my private investigation, interaction, and discussion, I will say categorically clearly that the glees and colors associated with the Ojude Oba Festival is outside the ranks of any cultural festival in Nigeria. What Nigeria advertises to the world in Ojude Oba is cultural elegance and communal cohesion. It is this cultural elegance that is being proposed as a tourism potential and strength for Ojude Oba Festival as a major global tourist destination. For instance, Morocco, Africa's top tourism destination with 13.2 million tourists in 2023, has its vibrant culture as its selling point. Egypt, which is placed second with 11.5 million tourists, has its ancient wonders of the pyramid and the Valley of Kings as its attraction, while for 8th place Kenya, with 2.6 million tourists, the premium is its wildlife safaris. Nigeria, ranked 68th in the World Tourism Index, attracted only 518,000 tourists in 2021 from the latest figures available from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. This demands that Nigeria needs to create and promote a tourism policy and strategy with a properly packaged Ojude Oba Festival as a potential tourism money spinner to tap into the gold mine of its 1.3 billion global tourists in 2023 that generated revenues of $4 trillion, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The Ojude Oba Festival should be funded, supported, and promoted to rank with the world's leading tourism destinations. These destinations include Disney World in Florida, in the United States of America, California, also in America, Cancun in Mexico, the safaris in Kenya, Paradise Fund in Mauritius, the aquatic jewel of the Indian Ocean, and the historic Colosseum in Rome, Italy. We in Nigeria need to appreciate and celebrate our culture as our patriotic, passionate contribution to global tourism. And the Ojude Oba Festival is such a sellable cultural event. My name is Bayo Olaoye.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us in Just Africa. Now, food is an incredibly diverse aspect of culture. In Nigeria, you have fufu, that's starchy food molded in a specific way that appeals to the people, not only in the southeastern part. Jollof rice is quite popular, but injera in the eastern part of Africa, is not that popular. For those of us in Nigeria here, even though it's something that is making the wave. Bobote in South Africa also is another kind of food. Like, as an African, you might want to get yourself acquainted with or maybe try out when you get to that part of town. For those in Nigeria, roasted meat, popularly called suya, will appeal to anyone because it is the delicacy most times in the evening when you close from work and you're going home, probably trying to retire to bed. There are quite lots of them that we feast on in this continent. And to say that food is an incredible part and something very, very significant in the African culture, if you want to find out the truth behind that statement, travel outside the country to Europe and go to African kitchens and let's see how much expensive money you spend in dollars to eat that. Welcome once again to Just Africa. Olumide.
Yes. Mr. Bayo Olaoye, I would like to let us focus on food. Now, he mentioned earlier on about jollof rice. There was a time Ghana and Nigeria had this, healthy competition about whose jollof rice tastes better. And that actually went viral with even people coming from the Western world. They want to try Ghana's jollof compared to Nigeria's jollof. Now, let's come down to Nigeria. In Nigeria, growing up, I enjoyed amala and ewedu. I enjoyed ewa agoyin and all that. And we also have our own rice. We have a fada rice from Abeokuta. Now, so I'm looking at the situation of how can we harness this? How can we export this food outside the continent, maybe packaged in a way? We've heard stories of China trying to package gari and all that, but how can we export our own delicacies, like the suyas, the kilishis, the kokoros, even the baba dudu, that sweet, that's, how can we export these things outside? Just as we have burgers and French fries, pizzas in Nigeria here.
As a Yoruba man, there's an adage that when there's hunger, nothing goes inside the mind. Once you are hungry, and hungry man is an angry man, more or less. That's what I should do. So food is essential, and we have lots of it. I don't want to talk about this jollof rice or whatever. Essentially, let's look at our own indigenous food. Tuwo, I like tuwo a lot. I'm a Yoruba man. Also, I don't play with, ofala soup. There's a soup, Igbo soup that I like from
Fesala.
Fesala, yes. And there's also ugu. I know I use a lot of vegetable, for my so we have varieties. We have varieties. The food is there. And we can, that is why I commend Amoke. You see, she's been courageous enough to do what she had done, but she will, to put some finesse into it. She needs to, I think she should go into packaging. And packaging is an industry. Packaging is an industry. And I was discussing with you, Primo, at the time I was saying about this online thing. For food, for you to do online food distribution, you need to, there are certain safeguards, healthcare safeguards. And I think that's what Amoke should do now, the next step. Proper technology into packaging. Okay. So it's not that the food stores are not there. They are there, but just like Olumide said, packaging. our food industry to do serious packaging for export, and the market will be there. I know for sure about 5 or 6 women around this neighborhood who almost every week go to Europe, bringing Nigerian foodstuffs, and they have restaurants all over Europe too. So it's a business that is growing too, just like event management, event marketing. These are things that are rising up with technology, and I think there's potential there.
Okay. Now,
and the manufacturing industry should think properly, outside the box, about packaging our food.
Okay. Okay, first of all, because when we have, most of the times we export African and Nigerian foods abroad, sometimes they got returned, like it is now currently in Canada. You cannot take down crayfish to Canada. You need to, just needs to go through flights. You can only spend a day in transition or 2 to Canada. You can't put it in a ship. A ship is going to take about 3 months before it gets to Canada. And the Canadian authorities have been complaining that we do not want bugs in Canada. And you know, by the time crayfish has stayed in the packaging for 2 months, bugs and worms will start coming up.
Right, we have a Nigeria Export Promotion Council.
Yes, but in spite of that, most of these countries that accept your food into their country also have an outline of items of the kind of food stuff they will receive into their country. Now, let me take you to another aspect. The yam flour, popularly called elubo. There's someone who traveled or who was called from abroad in the US and in the UK that, look, the ones they have over there are not, it doesn't really give the traditional feel to prepare the food. So they needed to start exporting that from Nigeria to those climes. And indeed, when you go to those restaurants in America or in the UK or in Canada, they are quite expensive compared to the local foods that you have over there. So what do you think that we can do differently? You just mentioned about the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and that talks about standardization.
NAFDAC.
Okay.
NAFDAC should, instead of running around people selling something in sachets, NAFDAC should go into food, because that's our forte now. That's our forte now. Regulation. Once we can regulate the industry, the Nigeria Export Promotion Council and NAFDAC and the Ministry of Agriculture itself.
Okay.
Once they can collaborate, and then the way a safe passage for all our foods, all our cuisines. You call it cuisines, yeah.
Okay. I'm also looking at doing some sort of intra-African trade when it comes to food. I mean, I would like to go to South Africa, I'd like to go to Kenya, or anywhere else, and still have a taste of amala and ewedu. So how can we come together as Africans in a way that it will not be as expensive in Europe? Because if you go to an African restaurant in Europe, you would pay a lot of pounds, euros, dollars, just to have the same. And that's why most of the people over there, the diasporans, anytime they hear people coming from Nigeria, they tell you, please
buy me foodstuff.
Buy me foodstuffs and all that. So I'm thinking of how can we establish on a large scale something like the McDonald's that we have, the KFCs that we have. How can we establish that in other countries? You rightly said, I'm okay. How can we establish something like that?
The banks have to cooperate. The banks too have to cooperate. They have to set up a desk on food the export market, food. They must talk about food. And then the farmers. At the time, there was a controversy about using this kind of fertilizer. That is enforcement, regulation. Once there's regulation, farmers will know what to do. Don't forget that we plant cassava 3 times in a year. We have not seized that opportunity for export. Ideally, the president can order all the 36 states and ask them to do 15 or 20 hectares or 30 hectares of cassava. And that could be, for export. There should be an arrangement for our foodstuffs to be exported, because the technology is there. The technology is there.
Okay.
Talking about regulation, we all know, or let me say, let me not use that word, the bottlenecks in getting an approval from NAFDAC to get just a NAFDAC registration number. There's a lot of bottlenecks. How can this be simplified so that someone, the local woman selling maybe boli or something downstairs, can actually have the access to export? Because when you meet some of these people and you tell them, ask them, why can't you package this? Why can't we sell? And you hear long stories, compelling stories about how it's going to take or what it's going to even cost.
Olumide, I was referring to red tapeism and bureaucracy initially when we started this conversation. And it's killing initiative, it's killing empowerment, it's killing inspiration. We cannot allow bureaucracy to go into the food system. Don't forget that this food too, they have a deadline.
Yes, perishable.
Perishable, well, yes, they're perishable. And so the Export Promotion Council should take the lead so that banks will follow, and then we will have less of government. I don't think government should involve itself in running business. There are professionals, there are institutions. They just need some guidelines from government.
All right.
Okay, let's go to, want to go to fashion?
Yes, I think...
I thought we should just run up with fashion.
Yeah, that is where we are doing the cutting, but that would be your last word from fashion as we round up.
Kudos to our fashion designers. They are making us proud everywhere, all over the world.
Okay.
And I think, yes, we'll get, it has repositioned Nigeria.
Okay.
Because our girls are doing very well in the area of fashion designing. What I don't like is our youth aping and imitating Western culture. It's not helping.
Okay.
Somebody will be wearing torn jeans and a torn T-shirt and he's telling me it's fashion. No, that's madness.
Okay.
I'm sorry to use the word, but that's our use to patronize our culture.
All right.
There's nothing wrong in wearing what we are wearing on this set.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And this is where we want to draw the curtain. Thank you so much, Bayo Olaoye, for your time with us, a veteran journalist who joined us this morning for Just Africa. This is where we draw the curtain on the program. My name is Oyepriye Krumale, and
like I always say, let's start thinking Nigeria, let's start thinking Africa, but it also starts from the mindset. Let's start, exporting and promoting our own culture. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Nigeria, rich in traditional and cultural heritage, is intentional about promoting history and retaining cultural values. The country has succeeded in preserving its identities and that of the forefathers for ages through folklores, folk tales, traditional ceremonies, community-based initiatives, cuisine, and most notably, museums and cultural centers. These institutions serve as invaluable repositories of history, ensuring that future generations remain connected to their roots and appreciate the diverse cultural tapestry of the nation. In Nigeria, there are over 38 museums comprising national, state, and privately owned institutions scattered across the country. Each of these museums plays a crucial role in safeguarding Nigeria's vast historical wealth, with collections that reflect the uniqueness of different ethnic groups, traditional practices, and historical transitions over time. In Lagos, the National Museum, located at the center of the city in Onikan, claims a notable collection of Nigerian art, including pieces of statuary, carvings, archaeological and ethnographical exhibits, among others. Of particular significance is the terracotta human head, known as Jema head, dated between 900 and 200 BC, which is part of the renowned Nok culture. The piece is named after Jema, the village where it was discovered. The museum is administered by the National Commission for Museums and Monuments and remain a key educational and historical attractions for visitors. Another prominent artifact housed within the museum is the famous Benin bronze head, an evidence to the artistic excellence of the Benin Kingdom.
The museum has a lot of functions, some of which are to educate, to entertain, research, interpretation, conservation and preservation of our cultural heritage. And then the museum was established, Lagos Museum particularly, was established in 1957. It was formerly referred to as Department of Antiquities. So, well, the journey so far has been interesting because, we are here, to showcase our cultural heritage, not just to the country, but to the world. And we have series of, events that we do, that involve the community. And because of that, we create that awareness that this is where you can come and, see and feel your cultural heritage, your traditions, your history. Because it is said that a people without a history is a people without identity. So the museum portrays this to the people. And over the years, that is what we've been doing. Through education, community participation, we have galleries, that we display some of our objects, our antiquities, that showcase our patrimony and all there is to know about our cultural inheritance. And so the museum, has been doing that over the years, and, we still keep doing more.
The Lagos National Museum was founded in July 1957 by English archaeologist Kenneth Murray, following the submission of textural sketch in 1948 at a conference on museum policy in Nigeria. Kenneth Murray collected several traditional masks from Cross River State to display in the museum's early years, according to historical records. The primary purpose of structuring the museum was to preserve Nigeria's historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Fortunately, that vision has remained alive to this day. The museum serves as a significant tourist attraction for Lagos residents and international visitors alike, offering an immersive glimpse into the nation's past. Some of the remarkable artifacts currently on display at the museum include the bullet-ridden car in which former Nigerian head of state, General Murtala Muhammad, was assassinated, pictures of previous rulers and presidents of Nigeria from different eras, a diverse collection of cultural drums, tools, and ceremonial staffs from various ethnic groups, historical crowns and caps of revered traditional rulers symbolizing their power and authority, photographs of Queen Elizabeth II and her entourage during her visit to Nigeria, reflecting moments of colonial history.
It's so immense. Museum is a reminder of what the society is all about, because a number of us are missing the link. We don't even know the role, the significance of the society we find ourselves because of foreign influence. But when you come to museum, it will bring your mind back to the original habitat, the way of life of people, how things should be seen in the society, and how we should react to phenomenal changes in our environment. Basically, we'll be doing this work of educating the general public, not only Nigerians, over 20-something years here, and the impact has been so tremendous, to the point that what we do at the museum is in consonance with the curriculum of our institutions. from primary, nursery, primary, secondary, even tertiary, even people in their corporate organization. They deem free to come to National Museum anytime they feel like we are missing the link, we have missed a lot of things concerning the way of life of our forefathers. You know, even here, apart from that, we do have what is called seminar. We organize seminar for expatriates, for individuals. They come around on Wednesdays to come and listen and learn on cultural-based subjects.
I think it's great. I mean, I particularly like the circle of life that are presented in here, right? From birth to reincarnation to external influences. I think I gave a good history of Nigeria. I learned a lot about that. There seems to be some real big connection between Nigeria and Benin in terms of the history that I wasn't totally aware of. I was able to see the different artifacts and stuff that were presented. So it was quite interesting. They did, I think, a pretty good job doing a comprehensive tour or comprehensive history of Nigeria and its culture and its surrounding areas.
A visit to the Lagos National Museum offers an enriching experience, transporting visitors back in time and allowing them to connect with Nigeria's rich and diverse history. The museum provides an opportunity to explore stories of resilience, artistry, and governance that have shaped the nation. Whether you are a history enthusiast, a student, or simply a curious traveler, stepping into this museum promises a nostalgic journey through Nigeria's past, fostering a deeper appreciation for its cultural legacy. Nigeria continues to reflect the stories that shapes its people, steadfast in its commitment to promoting history and preserving its cultural values for generations to come. Grace Komalafe, Souq Perspective.
Trafalgar Square, established in 1844, is a symbol of British naval history and a popular cultural spot in London. Named after the 1805 Battle of Trafalgar, it has been the site of celebrations, protests, and cultural events, representing the changing identity of the city. It houses several landmarks, like the Nelson Column, St. Martin in the Fields Church, and the National Gallery. The Nelson's Column, a tribute to a naval hero, is the main feature of Trafalgar Square. Standing 52 meters tall, completed in 1843, it honors Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. The column is topped with a statue of Nelson, and 4 bronze panels at its base show scenes from his battles. Surrounding it are 4 large bronze lions added in 1867, symbolizing British power.
Iconic part of British culture, not just in its look, but this is very much the sort of centre of London. You know, whenever there's a celebration, a protest, it's a public space that's very important for a lot of not just people that live in London, but for the UK. You know, it's a place where people would congregate. You know, I remember being here all around the 25 Olympics, but it was very much one of the centerpieces of British culture. Yeah, no, you used to be able to climb on the lions when I was younger, but you can't do anymore. So there you go. That's progress for you.
St. Martin's in the Fields Church, reputed as an architectural gem, was built between 1722 and 1726. It is known for its neoclassical design by architect James Gibbs, and is famous for its portico and steeple, and has influenced architecture worldwide. The church also a rich musical history, hosting concerts and helping the homeless.
Yeah, I actually came to London just on a little day trip, and then I remembered that this church sometimes has classical music on, so I just popped in, and there's no concert, but there were some people practicing. So there's a quartet of violins, and they made some lovely, sort of practiced for some classical concert. So I really enjoyed just sitting there for 10 minutes, listening to it. It's lovely, it's a really nice church, and it's nice that people don't use it much time. So we used to have a nice cafe as well.
The National Gallery, founded in 1824, is a treasure trove of art. Located on the north side of Trafalgar Square, it houses over 2,300 artworks from the 13th to 20th century, with free public access to masterpieces from major European artists.
I'm not really sure. I haven't been through the museum yet, but I'm here for a Christian heritage tour to kind of learn more about the history of the Protestant Reformation in England and Christian history here in England through the paintings that are in the gallery. So that's what I'm here for today.
Trafalgar Square blends Britain's naval history with modern art and culture. It remains an important public space, attracting millions of visitors each year to experience London's rich heritage and vibrant atmosphere. Chike Okolo, reporting for Souq News.
Hello, glad to have you join us on Queen's Court, where we discuss the role of women in leadership and nation building. I am Juliet Benitier, Reverend Juliet Benitier. Men can serve as powerful advocates and allies in the fight for women's rights and leadership development. These involve using influence to amplify women's voices, supporting policies that promote gender equality, actively working to eliminate discrimination and bias against women in leadership roles. Today, we will be looking at the role of men and how they should play when it comes to women leadership empowerment. But before we get started, let's go on this short break, and I'll be right back to introduce, this time around, the kings in the house. Welcome back. So let's talk about the perception of men and their views on the roles of women's leadership development. And joining me this afternoon to discuss is Apostle Einaya Okwonu, who is the chairman of PFN Lagos chapter, and Prince Olumide Olugbenle, expert on leadership and nation building. Welcome, sirs.
Thank you so much.
Queen's Court. And we call you kings in the Queen's Court. You are welcome. We're going to have some discussion around women leadership and nation building, but specifically even women leadership. United Nations Women has an arm called He for She. He for She was designed almost a decade ago to help women accelerate their roles in leadership by asking men to participate in ensuring that it's happened. So far, at the international level, we are still at globally 22 to 23% of women in leadership. Women leadership is still abysmal. in spite of all the campaign and investment. And we believe today's discussion, we want to ask the men, employ the men. What are the challenges? What are the issues? And what exactly is women's leadership from the men's point of view? And what should men be doing? So but I'm going to start with this question to you, Sir Apostle. What exactly is women leadership? And does it even have a significance in our world?
Well, I think, thank you so much for having me. We have to understand the concept of leadership, especially when it has to do with women, the concept of leadership and the concept of headship. Because it's kind of a cultural problem here in Africa. Men get scared when you talk about women in leadership. They feel that the women are coming to take over from them. They feel that that women are going to overshadow them, take over their role as heads of maybe families or corporations, organizations. But no, leadership is beyond what we see. From the onset, God made Eve, if you look at the Bible, in the book of Genesis, God gave him an assignment. And the assignment is to, look, I've prepared a garden, you cultivate it, you protect it. Then along the line, God said, no, I'll give you a helper that is suitable for you. Now, when God gives you a helper, for example, a helper does not mean an assistant. A helper is more than an assistant. So women have come into a place of leadership to not just support, but to beyond complementing, to enable the man achieve God's purpose for the family, for the community, for the country, for the nation of their origin. So leadership for me concerning women is beyond influence. It also includes being able to achieve the desired result for the betterment of everyone.
Thank you very much, sir, for that answer. We will go on with the discussion. Kevin Cruz, a leadership expert with LeadX, talked about the definition of leadership. He said leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. And leadership stems from social influence, not authority or power. Leadership requires others, and no mention of personality traits, attribute, or even title. There are many styles of leadership, including the fact of setting goals and influence that is intended. And as a leadership expert, Prince Olumide, as from the male point of view, what do you think is fundamental that women have not been able to even achieve up to, let's say, 35%, 40% of participation at leadership level, both from all the gates, all the spheres of influence? Why are we still having a challenge of women leading or providing leadership?
Thank you so much. The first port of call for every child is the home. And if you notice how children raised, the girl child is raised differently from the boy child. And once that begins to happen, you begin to ingrain in the girl child and the boy child and the larger society that there are no-go areas for you as a female, and there are no-go areas for you as a male. And once you have that dichotomy, once you have that distinction, as people grow up, the media, the larger society, religion begins to enforce whatever it is that you have taken on board. Key out of that definition is influence. So the way the parents have influenced that child, the way media has influenced that child, the way society is influencing that child will ultimately result in that child taking a particular posture, a particular mindset, and therefore ongoing in the larger society. So when a woman believes that she's less than the man, obviously she will always yield, they say at the left, yield. She will always yield to the people and say, yeah, you go ahead. One other challenge, I don't know whether we're going to get there, is the woman is the gender that has to incubate the next generation. That takes 9 months out of her life. And then she's left with physically taking care of that child for another 3 years. So you find out that once a woman is married and she has to raise a family of 1, 4 years has been taken. She has to raise a family of 2 children, 8 years is taken. She has to raise a family of 3, 12 is taken. She has to raise a family of 4, 16 is taken. If you go by Nigeria, where you're entitled to 4. So 16 years of a productive life between the age of 24, 20, and 40. 16 has been taken away. Obviously, that's a lot of time, either in learning or in rising or in doing. So one way or the other, that aspect of our life also shortchanges her.
That's a very serious calculations you just did there, because at YPO, Financial Times says one of the issues that women are having is workplace issues, relationship building and passion. And if 16 years is taken out of her life where she's not in that circle of activity, it shows that it will hamper her. But in your opinion, as a leadership expert, what do you think society should do to augment that so that women leadership can be accelerated? Because it also has been proven by DDI, one organization who did a research, that the more women they are at the echelon of leadership, the more productive that organization is. So women actually contribute to productivity value of an organization. So how do we accelerate?
Okay. The moment we realize that women constitute 50%, okay, my background is in economics and in accounting, 50% of our asset base, that a period in time that asset base is fallow does not mean that when that asset base is required to be put into productive use, we should shortchange that person. I'll give a classic example. A lady took time off to raise children, maybe 3 years, 4 years, I don't really know what. And she was interviewing with a corporation. And they said to her, "Madam, we see that there are 4 years missing out of your CV here. How do you account for that?" And she was like, "Oh, I've blown this job. This is a top consultancy organization in this country. I've blown this job." And she said, "Well, the truth is I was homekeeping. I was raising children. And that's why I didn't put on my CV." And the panel went after and said, "Oh, wow. Those were excellent period. That's an excellent period of your life. You are raising children for 4 years. I mean, waking up early, that's work ethic. Shopping, that's some skill in there. Managing the home, that's some people's skill in there. Managing," she said, "No, by all means, in actual fact, you have demonstrated certain skills that are required on this job," and that pushed her to the top. She got an official car. She got all sorts of things that were thrown into. So there are certain skills that women use even when they are raising children that the marketplace should give value to.
Excellent, excellent, absolutely. And I hope we are hearing that very, very recommended solutions, that even when women have to take a gap year off to raising families, which is necessary for societal building, is also a leadership skill that is at work in that role. And so that should be counted even an expression of her contribution to society. Apostle Sir, as a leader in a bigger, larger way, especially within the church gate, women leadership is still abysmal. The issues of women not preaching or leading churches or organization is still a matter arising. In your opinion, an expert and the years of being in this journey, like 50 years now that I'm hearing, what do you think we should begin to do? Because one of the recommendations at the international level is to create a fair playing ground and giving women opportunity to offer them positions before you say they didn't take it, but offer them positions. So what should be happening within even the church gate?
I think I'll take it from where Pastor Lubede started. From the home, the male child has been, in a way, indoctrinated to believe that the woman's place is not out there. The woman's place is to follow. Many years when I was a teenager, and you have ladies, there are some areas they go to study. You either study secretarial studies, do secretarial studies, nursing, teaching, home economics, such things. And the boy is made to believe that, look, the woman should not aspire beyond a particular level. And like he also pointed out, they have come to believe it. Women had a mindset that, look, we can't aspire beyond a particular level. It to be greed or something. It's beyond us. We are weak vessels. Some of them have accepted they are weak vessels. They are to be seen and not to be really hard. So what should be done is to begin to work on the male child. The male child to know that, look, you are not, the woman is not subservient to you in any way. If anything, the woman is superior. And let me give you why. If anything, the woman is superior. The man was made from raw materials, from the earth. The woman was made from finished materials. God took the rib from the woman, from the man, and then put his spirit into the woman and became a living being. So by all standards, she's more sophisticated, she's more intellectually savvy, she should be more innovative, should be more available and more useful. That's why when a woman raises a child, after the time of child raising, and you give her a job, she does better. I work with women as superiors, as my superiors. I work with women as colleagues. I work with women as subordinates. I have women who are working for me in my business, in the ministry, and other places. And I tell you, if you give them a job to do, they do it better than the male give it to do. We should encourage them by giving them the resources, intellectual resources, the emotional resources, and the physical resources and tools necessary, the skill set necessary to function there. And when you put a woman there, you'll be amazed at the result you get.
Thank you very much. So, but in your also leadership role, what deliberate efforts should we begin to make? I mean, I had a woman last week who is a Muslim, and I was actually thinking I could get a Muslim perspective also of the support for women, because he for she is simply saying that as much as possible that yes, women should lead, but to accelerate leadership, because internationally I'd say it will take over 100 years plus for us to even get to 50%. Over 100 years. And that data is scary. But they are saying that the only way to accelerate is also for men, like you have clearly said, even from their youth, to understand that women leadership is not a threat. So what should we begin to deliberately do now to accelerate the number and the percentage of women who should lead?
Number one, education. Education is vital. Let more women be given opportunity to go to school. Give more women scholarship. Encourage them to, when you give women a scholarship to go and study courses like law, engineering, and ICT, you have many more of them being prepared for that assignment later in life. Secondly, change their mindset. It is just a mere saying that what a man can do, a woman can do. They just say it, but they don't believe it. Deep down in them, they know that, look, I can't be able to do what a man can do. What a man can do is beyond lifting a bag of cement. It's beyond carrying things. The intellectual capacity is better and more complex than the physical capacity. So when we educate women and we let women know that, look, you can, we inculcate it in our women that they can. I have 3 daughters, and they're all graduates, and they're all leaders. I train them to be leaders.
Bravo.
I train them not to accept a second position. All my daughters, they are champions in the area, because Daddy has said this. A guy told my wife, my daughter, and said, look, if I marry you, I'm going to add value to your life. That was what ended the relationship. Say, I'm carrying value, I'm bringing value. What value do you want to add to me? So we should be able to let our daughters and our children know that, look, you are a lady, does not make you, a woman does not make you subservient. You are co-equal in a way with the man in being able to produce. If anything, you have more to offer than the man. The man cannot be able to have a child. I tell you why. My first children were twins. That was when I know that women were really strong. You know, in the labor ward, unfortunately, one of the twins came today. The other one decided to come the next day.
Wow.
You know, and so in midnight they came to come. That's a situation. So I went to the labor ward. There was my wife, weak and tired. And they say, push. I was just like, what? Since that day you have been like this. When I left you since yesterday, they say, push. I was at the head of the bed. They say, push, push. I didn't know I was pushing the bed itself. They said, not you, not you. As God will have it, as in my presence, that the child came out. I said, women, from that day, I began to respect my wife in a different way. So women have the power of resilience. What women are able to bear, men cannot bear it. So the women should be encouraged by telling them themselves that, look, you can, you are able, you have all it takes. That's where it starts from.
Thank you very much, sir. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I hope you're getting something out there, women. Leadership is not gender-based. And our leadership expert here, Prince Olumide, one of the things I have realized is how do we get women to get more training? For example, it was said that the more women are trained, like he has just said, the more likelihood they can get into the leadership role. In what way can we begin to train, to do training within the national context, local and all that? What should we begin to do?
Okay, let's start with what makes a male, what makes a female. We all know about the chromosomes. So which of the chromosomes is superior? Is it the X chromosome that is superior or the Y chromosome? I'm sure if any one of us wants to be sincere, we will say neither, because it takes two to make a human. So if it's going to be a male, XY, if it's going to be a female, YY. In other words, we are all born equally. In these days where people are even choosing to identify as male, female, I don't agree. That's to let you know that a man, there are some men that would prefer to identify as a female, and there are females who would like to identify as a male. So in other words, in a good sense, that distinction between male, female may not really be there in the sense that everybody thinks it is there. It is there, but not in the sense that we may be taking it. Now, to answer the question, if we had the same ab initio, I think wholesome education, complete education should be given to both the gender. Everybody should be made to do everything as they grow up. When we talk about leadership, I don't think we should give anyone an advantage because of gender. Society may have given the male, for whatever reason, maybe because we are largely agricultural. And right now, in this modern experience economy, we may be fighting and say, you know what, let there be affirmation, 33%, that. I think, honestly, if society is going to move forward, it's going to be the best man for the job. Now, every individual is unique. There is no individual that does not have some unique bundle of talent, giftings, and graces. Now, it differs across gender, it differs across geography. Now, what we should do as a society is to identify the unique composition of each individual, including the female, and give bespoke education to nurture what that individual carries. Now, when you have maxed out the totality of an individual, that individual has nothing than to excel. For instance, if this person is given to, let's say, aviation, loves things to do with the air and all of that, and from childhood that has been found out, and you're exposing that child and training that child in aviation, everything that needs to be done, put that girl anywhere in the world, she will stick out. it will now be pure wickedness to try to limit her because of her anatomy. So I would say train all the children equally in the basics, identify the unique gifting of that female child, also that male child, and develop that child in line of that bent. She becomes a natural leader. It will take wickedness to stop that person from occupying the height of heights.
Wow, thank you very much for that. But you know, in Nigeria still, at primary school level, the data says the percentage of the number of girl child is almost the same with the boy child. The moment they enter secondary school, the girl child start dropping out. The upper secondary school getting worse. University, we begin to see that dichotomy. And there are issues of child marriage, sexual violence, traditional preferences, and especially these child marriage issues. We're bringing it in because even for people I know who graduated from school, they have their ambition and career. The moment they get married, at the married gate, they are told they can no longer lead, that their leadership ends within these 4 walls. And a lot of women have had psychosis. What should we do, both as a nation and as Africans, with the issue of child marriage? You know, child marriage, of course, many people think is only prevalent in northern Nigeria. But it has been shown that within the South, it is also happening, especially within the Niger Delta and a bit of the West. This child marriage issue, why should it even exist? Why should young girls be held bound and marry at a time that they cannot even offer anything to that marriage? And what do you think should be our response as leaders? Apostle, you can start, and Prince, you would also respond.
I think it also boils down to the issue of education. Educating those who are in charge. You know, from the grassroots, there are leadership at the grassroots, but this grassroots leadership is dominated by the males. You have the Igwes, you have the chiefs, you have the other leaders at the grassroots level. If they can be properly educated on this girl-child issue and then early marriage, they will succumb to it. In the southeast from where I come, you know, the issue of Osu was an issue. It was a big thing. Osu, the outcast. But now, if you mention it, you can go to jail. They can stone you. Because we began to educate the people from the traditional areas. The chiefs, the Igwes, the Ezes. They now bought in the idea. Even foreign people who are adept in this area, who are knowledgeable in these areas, were brought in. They gathered them, and then they told them the implication of what they were doing. The same thing also, this girl child that you are neglecting now, that you are giving that in marriage today, can be the president of the country tomorrow. Once it is stored in their mind, they will not want to give up their child, their child that early. So I think education and creating awareness is very important at the grassroots level. It has to start from there. You know, this morning, they are marrying my cousin in my village. They came all the way from Abuja. You know, I should be in the village by now, but because of this, and they called me and said, look, they're asking for bride price. How do we do about the bride price? I'm the head of the family. And I said, in my family, we don't take bride price. Whatever they can afford, take from them. The brother of the guys was asking for 20 million. I said, we can't do that. In our family, we don't accept bride price. What do you have? They said, have 10,000. I said, okay, bring your 10,000. My friend, take 500, give them the balance. This is what should happen. And people are buying it. If you want to marry, before, I'm from Umuahia. You want to marry, if they give you a list, you'll be shocked. Our list used to be 4 or 5 pages.
Wow.
But now it's 1 page, and it's monetized. If you have 100,000, tomorrow I give you a wife in my village. Because we know that, and because the elders have bought the idea that, look, we're not selling our children. Some people come and you give them, you spend so much, and they forget about you. They've settled you for life. So this is a matter of education, educating those who make the decisions. And the decisions is from the traditional rulers. From the Saudi, for example, any decision that is to be taken they have to defer to the traditional rulers. So you will go there and talk to them and educate them. And now they are catching it, they are getting it. Most of our girls are going to school. They are master. If you look at what's happening, many of them are in school. And I think more should be done in the South, in other aspect of other part of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think we need intelligence. There's something called native intelligence. There's executive intelligence. There's spiritual intelligence. Different kinds of intelligence. I think we need to do more studies, and whatever studies that there are, we need to push out a lot more of intelligence. Let me give 3 buckets where we need this level of intelligence. You've raised one. A child that is not ready for marriage, physically, mentally, physiologically, spiritually, is all of a sudden thrust into marriage. She is damaged for a long time. Now, a girl may be ready at 16, another may not be ready until she's 24. So I would leave that to each family to decide when is this child ready. So the challenge we're having is pushing a lady, a girl that is not ready, pushing her ahead of her readiness into marriage. That is a problem. What level of education should that girl have before going into marriage? It has been found out that the more educated a woman is, the higher the chances that our children will do well in school. Because if she has university education, there are many things she can help the children do as far as homework is concerned. So that's one bucket of problem. Another bucket of problem is children are actually given the opportunity to go to school. And then the amount of years you put into education may actually disadvantage you in terms of marriage. May. So 16, university, comes out 20, goes into master's, 22, decides to do a PhD program or decides to do a professional program, 28, 30. At that point in time, some will say, you know what? The chances of you getting married has been reduced because when you were 24, the prospects were brighter than when you were 30. Now, how many people want to marry a PhD that already has a car, can live comfortably in Lekki? You have disadvantaged yourself. You have reduced the proportion of men who will be bold enough in a Tinubu post-Buhari era, if you know what I mean. Town is not smiling. Now, leave that bucket. There's another bucket of problem where women are actually now so empowered that the men are feeling left out. And so many marriages are breaking down because it is said that the woman has gotten into the executive cadre. So the woman is facing myriads of challenge, either as a disadvantaged girl that is thrust into that, or as a girl that wants to fulfill herself and be all she can be, and a woman that has blossomed. Everyone is facing challenge. How do we solve this problem? Intelligence. All the intelligence that we can put on the table, we need to put on the table. And say to people, don't marry this girl child until she's ready. Is the society able to train this girl? I think in the Calabar area, there's something they call the fattening room. Once you they send you there. Among the Jews also, between betrothal and between engagement, what they call betrothal, what we call engagement, and the husband coming to pick you, there is a gap of a year or two. It is the young man spends that doing whatever he needs to do. That 1 year is spent preparing this woman for being a wife and being a mother. Now, when people are going to school, I honestly think we need to maybe revisit the education in such a way that a girl that is of marriageable age and has found somebody suitable to marry, education and marriage should not be, what is the word that we use there now, should not oppose each other. We should be able to find a system where both can go pari passu so that she's not disadvantaged. Now, for the women that have blossomed There's a young man out there that is doing phenomenal work, even in North America, where they are bringing him to consult, and they are saying, listen, that you are earning more than your husband is not the reason why your marriage is breaking down.
Yeah.
There are other things that are going on. It's not that.
Character issues.
That has just emphasized or amplified it or accelerated it. So let's look at the issues. The money she's making, the money you are making is coming into your home. It's your home. Headship, like he was saying earlier on, is different from leadership. So there are other issues that we really need to sit down and look at to solve all these problems that the girl child is faced from the age of 12 till the age of 60, where they are still, even we are hearing 70 people, 70-year-old divorcing. I mean, it's crazy. It's a societal issue that we need to deal with.
I want to add, though, to the issue of intelligence that you raised.
Yes.
I think the male child also, the male, should be taught how to live with successfully today's woman.
Exactly.
Because today's woman is an exposed woman. She's a strong woman. She's not like yesterday's woman. She's not like her mom. So you cannot live with your wife today the way your father lives with your mother.
Exactly.
So the husbands of today
need to be retrained.
I'm concerned. The husbands of today should also be taught, educated on how to live successfully with today's woman.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to continue the discussion. And there's a serious case study we want to look at in Singapore. Welcome back to our discussion on women's leadership development, of course, looking at it from the perception of men and their role to ensure that this begins to happen in a very accelerated way. I'm a product, I can say, of a he for she. My dad was a he for she. He trained all of us as women to lead. And I understood that very early in my life, and all through my life, I've had men supporting. And I believe that men playing a fundamental role in accelerating the number of women participating in leadership is a critical matter arising, and we must recognize that. And so Singapore leader, founding leader, Lee Kuan Yew, of course, who has passed away, in his raising up a new nation, he fundamentally created even centers for men and women to meet. And he had an experiment that said, if graduates do not marry graduates, the children are going to be deficient. I mean, it caused a global opera, national opera, and all that. How do we encourage, because we ended with the discussion especially of men, how do we begin to accelerate and encourage men to support women to lead without being intimidated? Because when we say the ideology that women are rising to take over jobs, yes, we have many MDs of the bank today who are women, but since when? How long ago? So, I mean, the international data still shows that it's still below 30% at the global level. And male and female, he created them. So what should we begin to do to pull out more men to encourage women to lead? Apostle Festa.
Well, the men, like I said earlier on, should begin to understand that there's no competition. We should let them know that there's no competition. It's a cooperation. Together, everyone wins. So if you want to they call women your better half. If you call women your better half, not just in the home, but in the society, how can you relegate your better half? You cannot fly with one wing. So men should be educated more. There should be more awareness created, especially among the up-and-coming young people, to know that these women are not competing with you. They are complementing you. They are supporting you. They are encouraging you to make the society better. Much work should be done from the church, from the mosque, from the different organizations, the clubs. They should be women. When women come in, they shouldn't say, "Okay, sit out there." Gone were the days when you're having a meeting. Somebody comes, you want to discuss with your brother, and your wife is there. You say, "Mommy, please excuse us." The contribution you should have made will save you. Personally, I've lost money in business because I left my wife out. In one business, I lost over 15 million because I asked my wife to stay aside. Let my lawyer do the work for me. And when the thing backfired, she said, "What were they coming? I see them coming up and down." And I explained to her. So the statement she made will have saved that. So we should be able to have confidence in women. We should train our men. We should create awareness in the church, especially in the church. As we preach salvation, we should also preach acceptance. We should also preach equality in the church. That look, these women you see, don't sit aside. That's another thing we do in church. Women sit this side, men sit this side. We should know that we are co-equal, like he said. We are co-equal before God. And we have, if you bring out the best in us, the society is better for it.
Thank you very much. As an expert in nation building, you had the example of Lin Kuan Yew. And so far we can see a nation succeeding with a GDP of over almost $80,000. And I hear they're targeting $100,000 within a decade. And with the new prime minister, a young man, we can see that a nation has continuity. Will it be wrong to insist that this gender equality becomes a national agenda with desks everywhere to monitor to get that number going?
Okay. It's a good aspiration to work with numbers. And it wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I will go back to what I said earlier on. Let us ensure that each individual is given that unique opportunity to blossom, whether she be male or female.
Yeah.
So if, for instance, there is an opening for the MD of First Bank, throw it open. At the end of the day, you may find 3 women applying and 6 men applying. And you may just find out that the woman is better prepared. So it's not a case of because she's female, it's because she's the better prepared one. Yeah, so it would be, I think what I would ask for in the consciousness of society is that men should stop looking at women as sexual objects. I read somewhere that the oldest profession is prostitution. For there to be prostitution, it means that there are men who require that service. For that service to be fulfilled and for them to want to do repeat business, it means that there are women who are in that line of business. So for as long as men just look at a woman as a fine face and somebody to cohabit with or copulate with, we're not going to go very far with such men. So such desks, if they do exist, will be to not gender, I mean, the gender is already equal. So to even be fighting for gender equality is like we're fighting for something that just exists in somebody's mind. If it is the right thinking member of the society, X, Y, we're equal, we're the same. So why are we not having equal opportunity? So if we're talking about equal opportunity, maybe you will see what I've been addressing or talking about is equal opportunity. Let there be, equal opportunity, and if need be, some measure of assistance for equity where people are disadvantaged. Let's give them.
Because that's the challenge. A lot of women are disadvantaged already.
Yeah.
So it is that disadvantage that if you're doing a pool of leadership and you have 3 women, 6 men, and if you don't balance it out, the most likelihood, that's why they're talking about 100 years' time, the most likelihood is that the woman will not be chosen.
Yeah.
So I even know that deliberately right now, a part of that agenda is to now deliberately choose a woman. If, for example, you can find her as equal in capacity to another man, choose the woman and give her a chance. Yeah. Because if we don't begin to be that deliberate, I don't think we can increase this number.
It's not even just give her a chance for herself, it's also give her a chance for the gender, so that others that are looking can also
exactly.
I think UAE, they have a female astronaut now.
Oh yes.
The Emirates, and what they are simply saying is that if a man can do it, the woman can do it. Not just for this woman, but for the other people that need to be inspired. So what I would conclude by saying is, hello men, yes, the women bring forth the next generation. Yes, they complement us. But they are not just sexual objects. They are humans that carry everything that you carry, plus some more.
Excellent. And also the oldest profession in the world is leadership. Is leadership. So every woman out there know that the first profession that God gave mankind was leadership.
Not prostitution.
To lead, not prostitution. Prostitution is man-made.
Man-made. Okay.
But you know, 6 countries, as we begin to wind down, 6 countries have 50% of women in the single or lower houses as in the political area. So we want to just go into the political aspect a little bit. We have Rwanda at 61%. Africa tops it all. Then you have Rwanda, you have Mexico at 50%, New Zealand 50%, United Arab Emirates at 50%, Cuba 53%, Nicaragua 52%, United Arab Emirates at 50%. Nigeria in this new election cycle dropped drastically in political leadership. Of course, with the selection of ministers and ministers of state, we are seeing some deliberateness, but not good enough. What should we begin to do to get women in the political space, in governance, quickly? And what do you think should be the challenges that men should help them overcome? And when I say help here, not help because of the sense of incapability, but because of societal mindset, we need the men also to champion women leadership. Sir,
in some way, I want to say that women are also the enemies of the advancement.
In what way specifically, sir?
I tell you, women who have risen to, it has been proven, you know, that women who come to the place of authority leadership, either in political leadership or whichever leadership, they want to remain there. They don't want any other woman to come up there.
They stifle other women.
Yeah, they stifle other women. So women should encourage other women. The woman is a boss in this place, for example. She throws around her weight to ensure that other women are scared from aspiring to become what she is. So, but for me, women should encourage, to intentionally mentor and raise other women, you know, in the 7 mountains, you know, and other areas of leadership. They should intentionally take up, like yourself, intentionally take up other women, other young girls, mentor them and groom them, pay for things for them, pay for courses of whatever will enhance their skills. Women should help women. And when they see that, when men see that women are united in their effort to rise or to become what they ought to be, men help them, men support them. But when the woman is pregnant, in politics, it is a woman in politics in this country. It is a woman who stop the women from aspiring, from going further. You know, the woman leader, they choose a woman leader who does not even have the skill of leadership other than mobilizing women. You have not acquired leadership skills. You know how. You see, and then she decides who goes where. So give us 2 women, you know, in our party to be this or that. She will look for those who have compromised to give to them. So women should mentor other women and raise them to a point where they can also be leaders.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. And so also, Prince Olumide, in what way do you think we can now accelerate this number?
Okay, one of the ways that we can do that is to kill more men.
Is to do what?
Kill more men.
Not physically, of course.
I read somewhere that Rwanda has that level because of the genocide that they went through. A lot of men lost.
But we have had our genocide. We have had our civil wars. America too is very low. She has had civil wars. Yet Russia is higher than America. America has one of the lowest, maybe around 20.